Hello everybody, welcome to another Valheim video. Today, you're going to be learning how to make a floating island in Valheim. I'm running a community Valheim project called Enigma Mode. Part of that project involves making a version of Valheim where there's these floating platforms that you can build on in the end game. So, whether you want to make your own floating island, or you want to participate in Enigma Mode and contribute one of these builders' islands, then you're in the right place. And thank goodness, because Dakar has been schooling me on how to do some really cool tricks that I'm going to show you in this video. Here's what Dakar can do in like 20 seconds, and here's what I can do in like 20 minutes. I'm going to show you this kind of thing, so don't worry. You don't have to be some kind of building guru or building master. This video is going to assume that you've never used these pieces in Valheim because they're not available to the player traditionally. But believe it or not, stuff like this is completely vanilla friendly. I'm going to show you how you can use assets that are already in the game that are scalable and certain mods that make adjustments that don't require the mods to see in order to do all sorts of really cool tricks. First things first, it's important to remember this is not a building competition or a place for you to show off your build. It's a place for you to make a floating island for a builder to do something on. You're gonna make the frame and they're gonna add the details. We'll need to begin with a couple beginner-friendly mods that allow vanilla-friendly editing. The easiest way to get these installed is to use a mod manager called R2Modman. You'll then be able to launch R2Modman, pick Valheim, etc., and you'll end up with this installed and online page. These mods that you see here are the bare minimum for what I'm going to be showing in the video. Make sure to have them all enabled here and then launch Valheim once by clicking Start Modded. After that, exit Valheim, because you'll need to go into the config specifically for Infinity Hammer. Let's open it up now. We're going to edit two fields here. Scroll down until you find Set Invulnerability. Make sure that you have Set Invulnerability as on. And then scroll back up, because I actually went over the other setting. It's Remove Anything. For this specific use case, you're going to want Remove Anything set to True. Make sure to click Save, and then you can start modded. While this is loading up, you might have already noticed a problem. How are you going to find the pieces to build your floating island with? Well, we'll be able to just look at a list like this, sort it by Scalable, so that all the scalable objects go to the top, and then we get a filtered list of all of the things that we can use in this case. So we'll be referencing this tool made by Hallowa later on in the video. It's really useful and allows you to see visuals of lots of different prefabs. Once you've logged into your world, you'll need to go into your settings menu and then make sure Enable Console here is checked. This is a new setting, so if you used the Steam one from before, don't worry about this. At that point, you'll be able to press F5 and open up this console here. This is going to be useful later. For now, we're going to make sure that we're in God mode. And then we're also going to set fly to be true, okay? Before I go too much further, I need to give you a little bit of context in how these floating islands will be used so that you can better design them. Each floating island will have an entrance on the ground level that I'm in control of. That's going to be the same across all of them. That's not something you're going to worry about. The part you're going to design for is accessible by using the command go to, and then comma, 2000. This is going to teleport you up into the sky, and because you enabled fly, you're going to stay there. It'll look something like this. And you'll have to keep the environment in mind as well, because we often develop in end clear, something like this, but the player is actually going to see a few different environments. They're going to see it when it's dark at night, and honestly, I think the world tree has some really cool elements at night. It's pretty cool being up here. And the sky's just so vibrant, you know? They're also going to see the world tree at different times of day, and it really does change a lot because of how the lighting works this close to the sun. These are all things you should consider when you're designing. In addition to that, the environments will also change depending on where the location is. But for now, let's move forward, because at this point, we're suspended 2,000 meters up in the air in the world tree in the heavens. This is problematic because, like, let's say I want to build something. How do I even do that? I can't place anything anywhere. You know, that's a problem. The easiest way to get started is to open up your console and type spawn skull 1. This is going to spawn a little tiny skull, which is really useful for reasons later. And then you can just point at it and you'll be able to place your first object. But as you can see here, you're probably used to building with these pieces, but there's actually many more things that you can build with in Valheim that aren't available to the player, but are in the game files. That's where this incredible tool by Halloa that shows us the little icons is really useful. And not only that, but it allows us to filter by the scalable prefabs. That part is really important because it gives us a lot of flexibility. To begin, we're going to start with an asset called ice floor. You use the command hammer, space, and then ice underscore floor, just like that. Just aim at the skull and you'll see a floor pop up. This is a very special floor that is one instance and it's scalable and it's invincible. Incredibly useful for what we're about to do. You can rotate it around by using your mouse scroll wheel, but for now let's not do anything too fancy. We're just going to place it. There we go, we now have our ice floor. The floor is basically a bigger version of the skull, but technically you could just make a tiny little floor just like the skull and use it in the same way. They're both really useful prefabs to know about, so we're going to use the ice floor because, believe it or not, at this point we're ready to start wrapping our heads around how Dakar makes these sort of structures. Can you believe that this whole thing is only 80 instances? It's absolutely bonkers, isn't it? We're going to go back into fly mode and then just kind of zoom in all the way so we can get a good view of this ice floor here. And we're going to get ready to place another one. Except this time, before we place it, we're going to go hammer and then freeze. This makes it so your character can now move around freely. It breaks the connection from your mouse to the piece. Instead, you move around by using the keyboard like this. I'm moving around on the arrow keys here. Then you can also use page up to move it up and page down to move it down. You can hold shift and then start scaling it, right? And this is going to scale the entire object. And then if you move it up a little bit and then you move the scroll wheel, you'll rotate the whole thing, right? So now you can see how we can move it around, we can rotate it. I'm looking around and it's still moving around in the same place, right? This object isn't actually there yet. I haven't clicked. This is just the icon showing up, right? You're probably used to that happening with normal build pieces in Valheim. They normally go red if you can't place them, but you're not going to see any red prefabs here. Ah, this is perfect. This is exactly what I was talking about. As you can see, it just got dark and rainy, and the color of the tree pretty much changed completely. So you'll have to think of these different environments that can occur. This one's always funny because there's no clouds, right? So the rain's basically coming from the heavens, and the clouds are all below you. It's a pretty cool effect. But let's not get too distracted. Now that you've learned the basics of freezing the object, we need to scale it, but only on one axis. To do that, we're going to go hammer, scale, and now we're going to go 1, 1, and then let's do something really crazy like 5. Boom! Look at that. Suddenly, we have a totally different shaped object, don't we? And let's do it again, and except instead of 5 in that spot, let's do 5 in this spot. Boom! And now look at that. Another completely differently shaped object. So with Gizmo and Infinity Hammer, you're able to scale these scalable prefabs, which you can find here and sort by scalable. There's only like 70 of them. There aren't that many. I mean, look at all these entries. There's thousands of non-scalables, so it's a limited option you got to work with. But by changing these different properties, you can make all sorts of shapes, and that's what Dakar was showing me how to do. Now that we know this, what we're gonna do is look for kind of like a cool pattern here. So this one, it's a little bit too pixelated. So instead of 1, 2, it's gonna be 0.5 and then 1, just like this. And then we're gonna offset it. So I'm gonna use the arrow key, the forward arrow key, and I actually want to make it so there's a little bit of a gap in the center, just like this. So now we can rotate it, right? This is the true power of freeze. And now you can probably start to imagine how it is that Dakar makes all of those crazy, crazy projects, right? So there we are. We now have our full disc, so to speak. And we can check it, right, by trying to walk on it. As you can see, I can walk around like this. And I'm laughing because I didn't have the character here, so I actually thought this was way bigger than it actually is. I thought I was making a giant field. That's okay though, it all works out. Let's brighten things up a bit here. Now we have a really basic platform, as you can see here. This is going to make it a lot easier for us to add new things. Let's go into this tool again, and now let's look for something that looks interesting. Let's just find an icon that stands out. I'm not going to go too fancy here. I just want to make sure you're all comfortable and you understand what to do. Here we go. Why don't we use the silver? We're going to use rock 3 silver. So we go hammer and then rock 3 silver, just like it says in that list. And then boom, we get our silver node. Anytime you select a new asset, it's going to get rid of that freeze thing from earlier. So sometimes it's good to play around a little bit, just mess around with it before you freeze it and kind of see, does this look how you want? And for me, for now, I think I'm gonna go with this, but like upside down, okay? But this also, I mean, that kind of looks pretty cool, to be honest. I kind of dig this, so I have another idea. We're gonna go find our little friendly skull, which is bound to be here somewhere. So far, we've only rotated things on this axis, but in this case, I actually want to rotate it on another axis. All you have to do is use this command, hammer, rotate, and then you can say which axis you want to rotate on. I'm going to go with X, and I'm just going to guess, because I don't remember, 90. Okay, there we go. That was actually what I wanted to do, but in the wrong direction. So we're going to go -90, and now it's back to where it would normally be. And I want to go like mostly rotated, not all the way, not a perfect 90 degrees. I want to make this a little flatter. As you can see, it's still kind of like jutting out a lot. Very spiky. Let's just adjust it a little bit at a time now until we get something a bit flatter. There we go. And now I can use page. Okay, don't press page down apparently. Messed everything up, don't do that. Instead, what we're gonna do is hammer, move down 0.2, and we're just gonna slightly adjust it. That's something you have to remember. Once you change the rotation, the down is gonna be relative to that object. Keep that in mind. I wanna move this down just a little bit more. Here we go. This one, hammer move left, was perfect. As you can see, this is exactly what I was going for. I want something that can rotate around and make kind of a spirally edge kind of design, because those look really cool. Let's get some better light view here and rotate this piece over where we can see it. Let's just keep moving it. There we go. This is more like what we're looking for. Here we go. I'm gonna just go with something like this and then continue the pattern all the way around. Honestly, this part is always really satisfying. I'm not sure why, but it's just really fun. Once you get it all set up and you can just scroll and click, 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 and like, I'm definitely not aligning all of these up perfectly. There's gonna be different spaces, right? But it still seems to work. You end up with these really cool, spirally, kind of Beyblade-like designs. And sometimes it works out that way because you end up with a solid base. Don't worry about using mine rocks and these kind of things, because all of the items that you end up placing are going to be invincible, and the player won't be able to damage them. Let's look at this list again, and we're gonna look for some other ice assets. I'm gonna go for this kind of translucent rock 3 ice. I wanna mess the perfect symmetry up a little bit. I find that this makes things kind of look a little bit more natural, and it's always really easy to undo stuff, so I'm gonna combine elements of symmetry and sort of asymmetry, just kind of go around the ring here, use smaller and bigger pieces as I go, and then I'll kind of connect it together. There we go. So here we go. Here's my floating island platform. Now, I know it's nowhere near as elegant as Dakar's is, but hey, don't worry about it. Really, it's all about having fun. I want this to be more about the community contributing together, and I'm going to put them into the Enigma project in a way where there's lots of different floating islands. So now that you've seen the basics of building one, let me tell you a bit more about the context that it's going to show up in. First off, the floating island bases will never see another floating island base. They will be too far away to be in the same loaded zone. Now, there is technically in Enigma mode a way to build a walkway continuously, so you would be able to aim and connect a floating base if you knew where to put it. So it is technically possible to make walkways between these floating bases, but it would be quite a feat, let me tell you. For the purposes of your submission, you can just ignore the themes of all the other submissions and know that whatever you make is going to be the platform that the player sees. A learning lesson I have from this video is that the assets up here look incredibly bright, but then at night, things look really cool and trippy. I definitely prefer how this looks at night compared to how it looks in the daytime. And these are all things you want to keep in mind. What do you want your shining moment of your platform to be? After all, by the time the builders find these in Enigma mode, it's real endgame stuff, and the idea is to give them a safe place to build a huge base that doesn't get in the way of the areas that they're playing in. Somewhere they can really go all out and just build and build and build in the end of the game with all the things they've acquired. And the crazy thing about it is these are going to actually be in certain low instance areas just floating 2,000 meters above the sky. That means that players are going to be able to jump out of them if they want, giving them access to different areas that they can just jump down into. You can probably imagine how that combined with feather capes, acts as a parachute, you can use catapults. It really gives a whole new way of accessing the world, doesn't it? And if you're listening at this point in the video, then you must be quite into it, so I'm going to show you a couple other advanced tricks that Dakar showed me. First, take a look at these pieces. Do you notice anything different about them? As you can see, most items past a certain height in Valheim will get this snow effect on them. Here you can see a tile on the left that has something above it, so it's stopping the snow, so to speak, and a tile on the right, which is exposed. But if we just go further up, we can see that that actually stops happening. And that's because the snow effect ends at Y2000. This allows you to determine if you want the snow effect or not. Now let's talk about trees, because I know that this is all icy and cold, and so is Dakar's example, but you could do anything. Here's some submissions that people have already given. There's Dakar with his ice rock. Rose submitted a sky rock, and the same thing at night, and that's something you want to make sure you think about. Think about the different environments that you might see this structure in. Index gave us this skull-themed island, also with Mistlin's assets. Rose also submitted this skeletal-themed one with some mist, so that encourages the player to use mist lights and build in that particular way, right? And if you want to, you can do that. Like, you can make it so that you have to build inside of something or on top of something. You can give some kind of puzzle-like elements into your building platform if you choose to. And for one of the fantastic nature-themed ones, Naoma submitted this here, which is like a turtle with a bunch of really cool vegetation on it. I really like the chains, to be honest. I think they're like really crazy and they go really well with the swords in the game. But let's talk about those trees for a moment, because something will happen if you just spawn a tree normally. For example, let's say we want to place this oak tree here. Eventually, it's going to just start falling down to the ground. You saw where the snow started? And then it's just going to go all the way down, falling until it hits the ground terrain level. We're going to dabble in a little bit of field editing here. So you can use something called a field edit to spawn special data into something as you spawn it. To do this, we have to use a different spawn command called spawn object, part of world edit commands, which is one of the dependencies for Infinity Hammer. Now we can go oak 1 and then put this f equals static physics full false, okay? So I just noticed something here. When I did this, I actually had to go stand on something and go out of fly mode. It seemed to be putting it somewhere else. Maybe you'll encounter that as well. Either way, first what you're gonna do is spawn the object with this special field set here. That's gonna put it where your character is, but it's gonna have that adjustment so it doesn't get affected by gravity anymore. So now what you can do is use something called Pipette in Infinity Hammer. So select this second hammer here, and then you're going to look at the oak tree, hold left Alt, and then click. Now you can move the oak tree around, and this time, because we spawned it with a field edit, it floats and it won't fall down to the ground. And don't forget that most of the trees are actually scalable. Here, for example, we could make some kind of tiny little oak trees, right? Which look totally different than what the player is used to. Because, I mean, they've never seen a small oak, so it almost looks like a different asset, especially with all of the frosty look, right? Just keep in mind that everything up here is invincible, so you want to make sure that it's fun to build in. And probably you want a lot of space that's open, unless you're trying to have them build like a treehouse or something up trees. Imagine it like you're going there and building on top of this thing. What would be really fun for you? Focus on that as you're designing your floating island. Let's say that you make some kind of mistake and you place something with Infinity Hammer, or maybe you delete something. You can use undo, so just type undo, and as you see behind me, it makes the tree go away. If you delete with force delete, that won't work. You have to use Infinity Hammer commands for the undo to remember them. And if you log out, then it's all cahoots. I learned a lot from asking Dakar a couple questions, and he explained how he makes these symmetrical things really quickly. And that helped me better understand how I can make a tutorial for you all. So if you like this video, you gotta thank Dakar because he's kind of the brains behind the things that I showed you. Let's say that you want to join the project. Well, all you need to do is go into the description of the video, and that's going to get you an invite to the Discord server, the Poolside, which I share with Captain Crumbs and Splash of Pain, who also make Valheim content and livestream. From there, in the chat section under Path of Magic, you can find this build contribution opportunity, and it talks about the context of how these floating islands are going to be used. You can submit one of these islands whenever you're ready. Oh, that reminds me, I need to show you how to blueprint these things. All you need to do is use Infinity Hammer, and then you're going to select the area Pipette. This will allow you to select your whole island, okay? So let's open up the radius here, and then boom, look at that, we have our little island. You need to keep the instance count low, because the idea is to give the builder a lot of space for them to build whatever they can dream. If you make your floating island too complicated, then people aren't going to build on it because they can just go find a different floating island that has more space for them. So keep that in mind. There's going to be a lot of different floating islands, and each Enigma world is going to randomly roll them at every single viable location. So just join this Discord here that I showed you earlier, and then find this thread and scroll down to the bottom and submit your blueprint. To save your blueprint, you just do the same thing as earlier. You use the area pipette to select everything that you want to save, and then you're going to go hammer, save. I'm going to call this snowblade, and then you want to do center equals skull 1 or whatever center object you're going to use. In this case, it was the skull that started it all. Now that we ran that command, we have a blueprint in our files of the island. And what I would like is for you to submit a photo and the blueprint, and then tell me a little bit about it, like what you had in mind, where you want it, if you want it to be above snow level or below. If you want to support my work, then consider supporting me on Patreon. Even just like $5 or $10 a month, just for a month or two, makes a big difference, and it's really motivating seeing that some of the players, after playing for a couple of months, end up paying because they've had a fun experience and they want to show support. And some of the people have kept paying even after they stopped playing, which completely blew my mind and really helped inspire me to keep working on this project. Because it is a pretty much full-time job that I don't really get paid for. I earn like a couple $100s a month, and I still am going into debt a little bit each month to continue to work this way. So I can't do it forever. You know, I would eventually run out of credit, so to speak. But it is all good. I think it's going to be fine, and I have enough time, and I can see how excited people are. So to be honest, I'm just going to keep going, whether or not I get any kind of support from people in that way. I'll figure out how to make it work. I just need to make more of these tutorials so that my YouTube channel can grow and reach more people. I believe that Valheim is an incredible game. It's just that the community hasn't really understood how to leverage Valheim to show its true colors, you know? Who've really helped me become a more talented server manager and developer for these kind of Valheim scripts. If it wasn't for Dakar and Raka and Yer and Zeal and a bunch of other playtesters who'd played on Path of Magic, I wouldn't be able to make Enigma Mode or maintain it or do any of this stuff. So it really is a community. It's a communal project that many people are involved in at this point. There's been over 200 playtesters involved in Enigma Mode. So if you want to check it out, it's actually available for free for anyone to play on single player or put on their own server. All of my work is completely open source and available for people to copy, take, and do whatever they want with. Every script I've ever written is freely shared in Enigma Mode, and I encourage people to take it and make it their own and add new things to their servers, because I want to see what other people are going to do with all of this power that Yer has given us with Expand World Prefabs. If you'd like to experience some of what's possible now, all you have to do is use this Enigma Mode mod pack in single player. You don't even need to know how to install anything. That's the magic of it. Just open up R2Modman, make a new profile, and then search for Enigma Mode under Online. You're going to see Enigma Mode Quality of Life and Enigma Mode. That's it, that's all you need to do if you're just playing single player. You can also use the Enigma Mode Quality of Life pack. This adds the first person mod and some other things that I think make the game better, like craft from chests. If you're using your own quality of life stuff, then don't use the Enigma Mode Quality of Life pack. Yes, one other word of warning. If you are joining an Enigma Mode server, you don't need anything. You don't need this Enigma mod pack. I know that that's confusing, but that's the glory of it. Enigma Mode is completely vanilla friendly. It only needs to be used by the host. So that means you in single player or the server itself in multiplayer. That's the power of it. It's something that you could set up on a server and then set up with crossplay and play on Xbox or Mac or PlayStation. Enigma Mode is technically viable to anybody who has a working valid copy of Valheim already purchased from Irongate. Enigma Mode itself is completely free. Anybody can use it. That's why if you want to support me, you're just going to have to give me money for something else, because I'll never charge for Enigma Mode. It's always going to be a free, completely open source project. I want people copying and taking the ideas and doing whatever they dream of with them. If you're considering getting a dedicated Valheim server for yourself, then I actually have content all about that, and I have a server host that I've been using. And if you use my link with them, then that'll get me some support, and you also get a really cool Valheim server. And it has the benefit of knowing that everything you encounter while using Zap hosting is something that I've probably dealt with, because I've used Zap hosting and it is the hoster that I use for my current server that's public, so I know a lot about the things that can happen and I'm happy to help. And if you use my link, JP Valheim at Zap Hosting, then that's a way that we can both have a win-win situation. You get a server that you were gonna get anyway, and I get about half the money that you pay to Zap. They're really, really generous, and they have always treated me very well, which is why I'm very loyal to them. There's a person I can talk to when things go wrong. They've always been there for me. So after multiple years of working with them as a really tiny YouTuber, I can appreciate that. And that's why I recommend them wholeheartedly to others. Thanks for watching, everybody, and I'll see you in the Discord channel, because you're going to make one of these islands, right?